Hi guys, and welcome back to this tutorial on Unity. So in this section I will show you how to use different transform tools to be able to change the dimensions or the location of a specific object. So to start with, again, I'm going to switch back to the scene view, and then I'm going to create a brand new asset, such as maybe a box, so game object and 3D object and then cube. Okay, so again, whenever I create my cube, the view will be focused on this cube. If I double click on it, it will get a bit closer. Okay, so again, this is my cube. Now, to be able to modify my cube, I have several tools available. So again, even before I modify this cube, there are a few things that I wanted to show you. So the first thing is, you can see that I can change my view. So if I click on this button here, which is the hand tool, it's a panning tool, which means that basically I should be able to move my view to the left or to the right. So again, this just makes things easier to be able to look at your scene. The second tool here is the actual move tool. So again, this tool will make it possible to move or translate your object along the X, Y, or Z axis. So again, you can see that you have a little gizmo here that gives you a correspondence between the name of the axis and the axis itself. So again, and the color. So again, blue here is for Z, red is for X, and blue is for Y. So again, if I drag and drop this arrow here, I will actually increase or decrease the Y coordinate of this object. The same goes for the Z axis and the x-axis. And something that you may have noticed is that on the right hand side here you have the actual values for the x, y, and z coordinate of this object. So again, if I move this object along the z-axis, you can see that the z value is increasing right there. The same goes for the y and the x-axis. So again, any changes that you perform in the scene view will be reflected in the actual inspector window. So the next tool that we have is the rotation tool. So again, if I click on the rotate tool here, you can see that now what were previously arrows are now have now turned into circles. So again, this one, you can see that this circle is green, which means that if I drag and drop it, it will rotate my object along the green axis, which is the y axis. So again, if I do that and rotate, this one here, if I rotate it, you can see that it's rotating around the y-axis. Again, you can see that red corresponds to the x-axis. So again, if I do this, it will rotate it around the x-axis, and the same goes for the z-axis. Okay, so again, this rotating tool will make it possible to rotate the object around the x, y, and z-axis. So the next tool is the actual scale tool. So again, what will happen is that before I do anything, I'm actually just reset the rotation on both axes, just that it's just clearer to see it. So again, what you can do is start to scale the object on all x, y, and z axis. So again, same again, if I click on this green axis here, I will scale it around the y-axis. The red is for x, so again that will scale it around the x-axis, and the blue is for z, so again I will scale it around the blue axis right there. Okay, now you can see that there is actually a gray cube right there, and this gray cube is to apply a uniform scale along the x, y, and z axis. So in other words, as you drag and drop your mouse just above this cube, it will apply the exact same scale factor on the x, y, and z axis. So again, if I do this, you can see that now it will increase size on all three different axes. Okay, so again, you can increase or decrease, and you can see the scale factor here is decreased or increased. So that's about it. The next section here is the rect tool. So again, this one is quite interesting, especially when you'll be creating 3D environment. So again, it's a combination between scaling and moving. So again, here I can move these handles here, and I can just change the scale on the x and y axis, but the idea is that it's anchored on this from this corner here, so it won't move from this corner, and that's quite handy because if I instead use the scale axis, you can see that instead this corner is not anchored. So again, this rect tool has this advantage. What else? Then you have combinations. So again, if I look at this guy here, you can perform perform both scaling and translating and rotating. So again, it's a combination of those. Okay, and the last tool here, which is the box collider, we won't go into it, but basically it should make it possible to edit the box collider, which is used to detect collision for this object. That's it. So again, as we've seen before, we looked at transforming our object, again using translation, using rotation, and using scaling as well. Something else that you might want to be aware of is if I click back on this hand here, I've got different modes. I've got the pan mode, so the panning or the pan or panning mode, which makes it possible to kind of move my view around the X, Y, or Z axis. Or what I can do is press the Alt key, and at this stage my cursor will turn into an eye, which means that I will be able to rotate around this object. So again, it's very, very handy. Okay, and again here I've got the control. If I press the control button here, my cursor will turn into magnifier, which means if I scroll up and down using the mouse wheel, so again it will make it possible to zoom in and out. So again, so panning tool, and then Alt key to rotate, and then the control key to zoom in and out. So with all these different tools, you should be able to basically modify your objects and also to change the view to make it possible and easier to modify them. So again, in the next section, we're going to start to create a virtual environment with textures and colors.